you're gonna pay $600 through us, you're probably paying over $1,000.
The other night, the rain.
People, you know,
Yeah,
give them the option.
Snow.
So they got all the way to midday, and we shut it down, so they gotta, you know, at least have their permit pulled or their own sidewalk repair, you know, so we know that they're in the works. And then we take them off the list, and then we put them on our own list and go out with a contract. And it, you know, it works fine, and when people call me and ask questions, that's what I tell them, I go, you do it yourself, and I'll tell you right now, you're not gonna get the price that we're gonna get. You know, we got these guys running around doing, you know, they do, Azarian always gauges that he does, you know, 2 trucks, which is about 7 yards.
May I have
of
your
concrete.
attention, please? Good afternoon, everyone. The hour being 5:30. I will now call the Public Works and Service Committee meeting to order for Tuesday, March 14th, 2023. Mr. Bridgeloff, would you call the roll, please?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Alder Jones,
Present.
Alder Land,
Present.
Alder Paffrath,
Here.
Alder Sebastian, excused, and Alder Perez.
President.
Thank you. I have one more note to Alder Land has requested to be excused around 6:30. We should still have quorum, so we should be okay. The first item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes for February 28, 2022. Second. The motion by Alder Land, second by Alder Paffrath to approve the minutes from February 28, 2023. Any questions? Alder Perez.
I looked online earlier and there were no minutes.
Okay.
So
Bigard?
Go ahead.
I'll check into that with our admin in the morning.
Okay, so then I move to delay this vote till next time.
Would you care to rescind your motion, Alder Land, Alder Paffrath? Yep. And would either one of you care to second Alder Perez's motion to? Okay, so it has been motioned by Alder Perez, second by Alder Paffrath to forego the approval of the minutes until they are online. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes. Our first item is 0229-23, communication sponsored by the chair on behalf of Larry Vail to close off Liberty Street between Marquette Street and Superior Street from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. on August 27, 2023 for the Burmeister Massilian Memorial Car and Motorcycle Show at the 5th Street Yacht Club. Staff recommendation that the closure be approved as per the 5th Street Yacht Club request per the attached stipulation. Mr. Pritzloff.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Committee members, thank you. We reviewed this. This is a yearly event. I believe that we have the applicant is here.
Correct.
If you would like to say a few words from the staff perspective, staff doesn't have any issues with the proposed event.
Well, then probably best just to keep it all shut. But no, thank you for your consideration. We use it for parking for our event because our parking lot is all the show cars. And so there's no place for our spectator parking. And without your help, we wouldn't be able to have the event. So we appreciate your help these past 2 years and we're requesting it again. This year's charity that we're going to support is the American Kidney Association. Kidney, yes. Harry Massilian's spouse passed away from kidney disease. So we're going to support the kidney disease. I'm sorry, the Kidney Foundation. The first year Harry passed away from a heart attack, so it was the American Heart Association. And Phil Burmeister died with rheumatoid arthritis, and so last year was the Arthritis Foundation. So we find connections between different members of the club, but it's always for the good of one of those causes.
Very good. Thank you very much. Any questions from committee members? Seeing none, I would entertain a motion. Oh, Alder Perez.
Move to approve.
It's been motioned by Alder Perez, second by Alder Land to approve item 0229-23. Seeing no further questions, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes. Our next item is 023. Thank you. 0230-23, communication sponsored by the chair on behalf of the Department of Public Works, submitting bid results for contract 202-3011, Franklin Street Concrete Reconstruction. Staff recommendation that the contract be awarded to Milwaukee General Construction in the amount of $648,781.60. They being the lowest responsive bidder. Mr. Mullender.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This, as we said, Wednesday, March 8th, we took bids for this project, Franklin Avenue, which is our one and only concrete reconstruct that is an accessible street. We had 3 bids, and our estimate was about $652,000 even. This does qualify for Racine Works program. If the committee agrees, we recommend that we award the contract to Milwaukee General Construction at their bid of $648,781.60 through, and that would be funded through DPW paving, storm sewers, and sanitary sewers.
Thank you. Did you have a question? Alder Perez.
How come this is not Jimmy's assessment?
This one is already a concrete street. So once it's concrete, it's on the city to fix.
Alder Perez.
Does it
Smart
entail the whole street or?
No, it's just 2 blocks from 21st to COVID.
Answer your question, Alder Perez?
Yes.
Any further questions from committee members? If not, I will entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
It has been motioned by Alder Perez, second by Alder Packard, to approve item 0230-23. Seeing no further questions, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Our next item is 0231-23, communication sponsored by the chair on behalf of the Department of Public Works, submitting bid results for contract 202-3033, 2023 accessible streets and alleys. Recommendation that the contract be awarded to A.W. Oaks and Son, Inc. in the amount of $968,204.38. They being the lowest responsive bidder. Physical note funding is available in the following objects: concrete street paving accessible, concrete alley paving accessible, concrete curb and gutter accessible, DPW concrete street paving, DPW concrete alley paving, DPW sidewalk replacement, storm sewer miscellaneous location, sanitary sewer, various location, concrete pavement, miscellaneous lot, Mount Pleasant, for the total amount of $968,204.38. Mr. Mullender.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Once again, on Wednesday, March 8th, we took bids for this project. The accessible streets and alleys, this is 5 streets and 1 alley. Two of the streets are basically half in Mount Pleasant. That's why you see the last item was for Mount Pleasant. This also qualifies for Racine Works program. The staff recommends that if the committee agrees, that staff recommends that we award this contract to A.W. Oaks and Son for their bid amount of $968,204.38. And we've already gone through all the funding, so.
Any questions from committee members? Seeing no questions, would entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
It's been motioned by Alder Perez, second by Alder Lamb to approve item 0231-23. Seeing no further questions, comments, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes. Next item is 0232-23. Communication sponsored by the chair on behalf of the Department of Public Works, submitting bid results for contract 202-3042 2023 CIPP lining. Staff recommendation that the contract be awarded to Mooson Brothers, Inc. in the amount of $1,531,754, they being the lowest responsive bidder. Fiscal note funding is available in the following fourth objects: sanitary sewer, infrastructure repairs, storm sewers, RWWU sanitary sewers. Mr. Mullender.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Once again, March 8th, we received bids for this project, 2023 sanitary sewer and lateral CIPP, which is basically the lining project. I did notice there is an error. The total number, award number, and the amount on the memo is correct. On the agenda, it is wrong. It is just the base bid that we are awarding in the amount of $1,293,398. The engineer's estimate for this project was 1.1 million. This also qualifies for a Racine Works program. Staff, if committee agrees, staff recommends that we award this contract to Musson Brothers for their base bid amount and only the base bid.
Just one clarification, you're saying the amount now should be $1,293,000?
Yeah, the memo,
$1,000.
correct. The amount on the memo page is correct. The amount on the agenda page is incorrect. I believe that was base bid and with the alternate one bid. I think in between the agenda and the memo, Racine wastewater decided not to do their alternate one bid. There was two alternates that were added to the base bid on bid day on a bid opening. So they had a base bid, alternate one bid, and an alternate two bid, and then a total bid. And we are just awarding the base bid in the amount of $1,293,398.
Okay, so we need to make that notification when we do the motion, please. Any questions from committee members? Alder Perez.
Could you please explain what is bid alternate 1 and 2?
Racine wastewater likes to add a lot of things on their dime. They had several things that they had us look at to add to the contract, and we added them as alternate bids because they always don't know if they have enough funding to cover that. So we have our base bid of the stuff that we do, the stuff we are already going to do for wastewater, and then wastewater added two different times. They added extra work to add to that contract, and we added them as alternate bids to not muddy the waters as much as. So we do this we do this a lot of times. So especially last year when construction prices were kind of haywire with pandemic and things like that.
Any further questions, Alder Perez?
No, ma'am. Thank you.
And just,
Commissioner Remy.
just for clarification, sometimes you do those alternate bids, just so you don't have to reject the entire bid if you didn't separate some items out. Do the stuff you need to do, absolutely. If the prices come in for the extra work, having these alternates, apparently they didn't come in as they anticipated. So otherwise, if you bid it all out at once, then you don't have the funding, and you have to reject the entire bid and re-advertise. So this is a mechanism that we can also use to parse out those additional things you'd like to do, but not sure if the money's gonna be there based on the bids that are submitted. So that's another way to look at it. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions? Alder Patrick.
Councilmember Jones. So it looks like the estimate was at 1.1 million and the bid came in at almost 1.3. How do you make that up?
We have, we have additional money in our sanitary sewer funds
Okay,
that we have to cover this.
okay,
So it was just, our estimate came in at a dollar amount, which we're usually hoping to be like low bid number 2 or 3. But at this time, we were the low bid. We can't do the work ourselves, so. Yeah, so this happens a lot,
Sure.
not a lot, but
yeah,
often enough that we usually have money to cover
okay.
unless it's way out of proportion, so.
At the end of the year, it starts catching up with us.
No, not in the sanitary sewer. We have plenty of money that we can cover it, so.
Yeah, just a note on the funding accounts there. So like, the very first funding account, that org object, that represents funds that are generated through the quarterly surcharge that goes out through the water wastewater bill. So that's a fund that's set up to pay for these types of improvements, also joint projects that we have to be involved with. And the other funds that you see with the 2264, or that's the sanitary sewer maintenance fund. That's the charge for every property that has a lateral to it, and that pays for maintenance and for infrastructure repair work on the collection side. And then some of the sewers that we're lining are storm sewers. We're taking money out of the stormwater utilities, the enterprise fund. And then the last line item for the funding, that's the money that's coming directly from wastewater to fund improvements to their infrastructure. So, these accounts, essentially are cash accounts. They're not borrowed funds. These are funds that are generated through the collection of quarterly surcharge fee, the lateral fee, the stormwater utility charge. So finance keeps track on how much funds are available, type of work that we're doing. And that's how we use these funds to pay for these types of projects.
Did you say something? Alder, excuse me.
No,
Mr. Prince Love, I thought you were waving your hand there.
no, I'm sorry.
Okay, no, you, Alder Perez.
Mr. Ernie, you mentioned laterals in the explanation. Can you explain what a lateral is, please?
So lateral, there's 3 distinct type of sewers out there on the collection side that take sewage to the wastewater treatment plant. There's large diameter pipes, those are called interceptors. That's what the Racine wastewater utility is responsible for. These are fed by smaller diameter sewers in the streets. These are the ones that the city are responsible for. And then sewer lines that get the sewage from the properties into that smaller diameter city that's maintained are the laterals. So these are the individual lines that come off the trunk line that go to properties, whether it's residential, commercial, industrial. That's a lateral, and that feeds up the local sewer system. Those local sewer systems then time the large interceptor systems that either go straight to the treatment plant, or they may go to a lift station so they can get pumped and then deliver, down there. So that's kind of the separation of the collection system and who's responsible for what.
So am I correct in saying you have a ladder that goes from the street to the sidewalk, and the property owner has the one from the sidewalk to the house?
It's the same exact pipe. Alder Jones, the city's responsibility is to the property line, from the trunk line to the property line. If that lateral happens to fail on private property in your front lawn or further in, you're responsible for that. We only maintain this on public right away. And so the lining, for example, we'd line up to the public right away. We don't line past it in the person's home or the business's home. We just line us in the public right away. That's what we're responsible for.
Thank you. Any further questions? If not, I will entertain a motion, and please add the correct charge in your motion, please.
Move to approve with the correct amount of $1,293,398. I'll second.
Motion by Alder Lane, second by Alder Pastrana, to approve item 0232-23 for the amount of $1,293,393,393. Seeing no further questions, comments, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes. Thanks, everyone. Our next item is 0234-23. Communication sponsored by the chair on behalf of the city engineer, submitting change order number 2 to contract 2022070-2022 sidewalk replacement Riser of Racine LLC contractor. Staff recommendation that change order number 2 be approved in the amount of $23,472.50. Fiscal note, funding for this change order is available in the following report objects 401-04-57515 sidewalks. Mr. Mullender.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Tis the season. This is a restart of a sidewalk contract from last year. Got started late, and they were having problems getting supply, and so we shut them down once the snow started to fly, and extended their contract at that time. This is kind of a restart change order that gets them starting to work again and gives them a new completion date. We also added some maintenance work that we want them to do. For instance, we're having them replace some sidewalk and some curb and gutter on 6th Street that that's been damaged, and it's a different item that we had in the contracts. We had to get different prices and things like that, so we're adding that to it. So this is an existing contract, just trying to wrap it up before, hopefully by mid-May, but definitely before Memorial Day. Committee agrees. We recommend that we approve this change order.
Thank you very much. Any questions from committee members? Alder Patrick.
Can you describe what the change order is for? Like, how does that amount get?
On 6th Street, we noticed that there's a lot of curb and gutter that the head has deteriorated to a point, and it's plow damage or what have you. So we just noticed it this spring. We figured, hey, why not throw it on the sidewalk contract? It's integral curb, meaning that the curb head and the pan of what normally would be your curb and gutter is connected to the roadway pavement. There's no joint or anything there. So instead of tearing up the whole road, we have to saw cut and then drill dowel bars in, so the curb is connected again to the pavement, or the roadway pavement. And so it's different from the curb and gutter we already had on the project, where it's a separate curb and gutter that we can easily tear out and replace. So it was a completely different item. There's a couple other things. We had decorative brick that they have to replace that we didn't have that on the contract. So we had quite a bit of items that were quantified this winter or early spring that had to add to this contract.
So this is change that we
Yes,
initiated.
that we,
for
yes.
More work.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you.
And that curb and gutter, that's been knocked off, holds those decorative brick pavers in place on 6th Street. That's the type of sidewalk we have there. So it's added work that we asked to get done, because they're gonna be doing sidewalk work downtown anyway. So
Okay.
if you're down there, can you come over and take care of this?
Thank you.
Alder Red, did you have a question? Oh, okay. Alder Perez? Seeing none, motion is in order.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion by Alder Patrick, second by Alder Lane to approve item 0234-23. Seeing no further questions, comments, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion passes. The next item is 0238-23. Communication sponsored by the chair on behalf of the city engineer, submitting change order number 2 to contract 2022-028 2022, accessible streets and alleys, Lalonde Contractors, Inc., contractor. Staff recommendation that the change order be approved in the amount of $134,053.70. Fiscal note funding for this change order is available in Port Object 40104-57500, concrete street paving accessible. Mr. Mullender.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We are submitting change order number 2 to the above contract in the amount of $134,053.70. The original contract was approved in the amount of $1,774,538.43 under resolution number 0203-22 of April 18th, 22. This change order brings the contract total amount to $1,925,099.13. We already discussed the funding coming out of the cesspools. This is a rectifying change order, basically quantity change to kind of finalize this project out and finish up the project and fill it out. If the committee agrees, we recommend approving this change order.
Thank you. Any questions from committee members? If not,
Can you describe the need for the addition?
I think we just, it was just a change, I think, in pavement thickness for one area was kind of like the big one. We were on a kind of an industrial street, and we went to 8-inch, which was originally 7, and there's additional base aggregate that we used to fill in for excavation below subgrade. We ran into some muck. We dug it out about another foot down, threw in some gravel and just to kind of solidify the base of the road up before we paved on it.
any further questions from committee members? If not, the motion is in order at this time.
I'll second.
Motion by Alderman, second by Alderman Craft to approve item 0238-23. Seeing no further question, discussion, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion passes. Our next item is 0251-23, communication sponsored by the chair on behalf of the city engineer, submitting change order number 1 to contract 2022051, College Avenue Brick Pavers, intersection 17th and 18th Street, A.W. Oates and Son Contractors. Staff recommendation that change order be approved in the amount of $51,986.69. Physical note, funding for this change order is available in Port Object 45040-57500, College Avenue intersection. Mr. Mullender.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We are submitting, this is not a rectifying change order. This is a intermediate change order that almost gets us home. But we're submitting this change order on the above amount for $51,986.69. The original contract was approved in the amount of $369,357.40 under resolution number 0374-22 dated June 7th of last year. This change order brings the contract total to $421,344.09. This is coming out of a fund for College Avenue intersections. This was the brick intersections that we reinstated at 17th and 18th. This change order basically covers an additional work south of 18th Street and some other miscellaneous items, handicap ramps that we added. I think there was a driveway apron that we added, a couple other things, but it was basically an additional I think, 15 to 20 feet on the south approach of 18th and College that drove this change order. If the committee agrees, we recommend approval of this change order.
Thank you. Any questions from the committee members? Alder Perez.
What does specifically brick paver mean?
It's the bricks that,
Yeah, well, paver? What does that mean?
It's just a type of brick that it's a paver brick that they,
Called a paver. brick?
yeah, yeah, you're not gonna use a paver brick on your house. I don't think they're perfectly, square or whatever. They're just brick pavers and,
They're made for.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, they're heavier.
Specifically.
yeah,
So that
probably
they
the size
allow the
difference and,
Traffic. Where your one in your yard wouldn't have to withstand that much traffic over time. And that College Avenue original bricks have been there for over 100 years. So. Shows you they're very doable.
Can't get her cement this thick.
Probably not, but. Any further questions? Seeing none, have an entertaining motion. Second. It's been motion by Alder Lynn, second by Alder Patrick, to approve items 0251-23. Seeing no further questions, comments, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? The motion passes. Thank you, everyone. Next item is 0239-23. Communication sponsored by the chair on behalf of the Commission of Public Works, requesting revision 3 of the state municipal agreement for state project ID 2703-000272 West Sixth Street Bridge, Root River and South Harlech Drive be approved. Staff recommendation that the city be authorized and directed to sign revision 3 to the SMA for state project ID 2703-000272 West Sixth Street Bridge, Root River and South Harlech Drive. Physical note, the estimated total cost of the project is $8,285,890 for the design and construction, with the city share being $1,668,641. This revised agreement decreases the municipal fund cost share by $982,984.55. Funding for the city share is appropriated in the 2023 to 2032 capital improvement program budget. Commissioner Rudy.
Thank you, Madam Chair, committee members. So we received a third revision to our state municipal agreement for the project that we just completed and opened up the first week of November. In this revised state municipal agreement, the project design costs funded up to 80% with state funding, up to a funding limit of $668,445. The municipality is agreeing to provide the remaining 20% any funds in excess of that $668,445 funding limit. And any real estate utility costs are 100% locally funded. And the project construction costs, they are funded as well, up to 80%, up to a funding limit of $5,936,267. The municipality is agreeing to provide the remaining 20% and any additional funds in excess of that funding limit. Again, any real estate, railroad, or non-participating items or utility costs are 100% locally funded. Originally, this project was funded in the 2022 to 2031 capital improvement program budget. This revised agreement is actually decreasing the amount the city of Racine has to pay on this project by just over $980,000, which is fantastic news. If the committee agrees, the appropriate action would be to approve the SMA, authorizing the mayor and city clerk to enter into the agreement. So when this, there were cost overruns definitely on the West Sixth Street project due to supply chain issues. material increases and what have you. We saw this coming, and I had contacted the state about getting additional funding for this project. And I did this back in January of last year. Actually, January of 2021, after we had received bids on it, because the bipartisan infrastructure law was approved at that time, where they were injecting, billions and billions of dollars into the infrastructure program across the country. And at that time, they were like, no, we aren't going to give these funds to existing projects. We want to fund new projects with them. And we're like, really? We have an existing project, we need additional funding. We would love you to fund this with these funds if you're having trouble funding other projects. As you know, we went out and applied for several projects with that in that bill program, and we just took to committee over the last month and a half or so, 4 road projects, 2 bridge projects that we got approved. So I just got the news a week or so ago that they must have found additional monies. And so they are crediting us, darn near $1 million on this. So that reduces our local cost share on this project. It was originally around, $2.5 million was our share of that bridge project. And this brings it down by over 980,000. So this is really good news. This will be monies that you maybe don't have to be borrowed, or if they are borrowed, they can be applied to other projects. So the squeaky wheel got some oil on this one. So we're very, very fortunate, very happy. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Good work.
Very good.
I have that comment too.
Any questions from committee members? Anytime we're saving money, that's a good thing. Seeing no questions, a motion is in order.
Motion approved. Second.
Other careers know that this meeting, but you.
Oh, we did?
Anyways, motion by Alderman Land, second by Alderman Packard to approve item 0239-23. Seeing no further questions, comments, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Our next item is 0250-23. Communication sponsored by the chair on behalf of the Commissioner of Public Works, submitting Amendment 1 to the professional service agreement on the contract 2021042 between the City of Racine and AECom Technical Service, Inc. in the not to exceed amount of $252,400 for the development of a wastewater infiltration and inflow and flow exceedance reduction program. Recommendation that the Public Works and Service Committee approved Amendment 1 to the professional service agreement on the contract 2021042 and direct the mayor and city clerk to sign the agreement between the City of Racine and AECom Technical Service, Inc. for the wastewater and flow exceedance reduction program in the not to exceed amount of $252,400. Physical note funding is available in Port Object 40101 52100 Manhole Fund Professional Services. Commissioner Rudy.
Thank you, Madam Chair, committee members. I'll read you the memo that I prepared. After completion of the phase 1 work and contract 2021042, the City of Racine has received an amendment to continue work for services identified below to begin phase 2 of the program. Phase 2 will include II program management and intergovernmental agreement coordination, development of construction documents for manhole sealing and lateral grouting, a foundation drain disconnection, in other words, a sump pump program development, post-construction monitoring, field exploration, and technical memo. With the results of phase 2, a third phase will be developed to include an analysis for the entire program, including the results of the 2 study areas and a sump pump program applied citywide. The amendment includes several tasks to continue efforts to achieve and maintain relief from any sanitary sewer moratoriums imposed by the Racine Wastewater Commission in accordance with stipulations in the intergovernmental agreement. These services, including the amendment, are the II program management and IGA coordination, foundation drain disconnection program, manhole cover inflow evaluation, 2023 post improvement flow monitoring and analysis for the two study areas around North Osborne and Echo Lane areas, and the technical memorandum. AECom will develop technical memorandum to document the work performed in phase 2. This report will document the results of each task, a summary of identified system efficiencies and sources of II, the theoretical reduction of quantified II, and prioritize rehabilitation efforts that are required to be reported to the Racine Wastewater Utility Commission annually beginning in October of 2023. Total cost of the amendment is $252,400. Funds available in org object 40101-52100. Professional services surcharge. If the committee agrees appropriate action would be to authorize the mayor and city clerk to enter the agreement. So that's kind of a mouthful with that memo. What this memo is describing this amendment to the original contract is we had started when we had received a letter from the Racine wastewater utility that we had exceeded our allotment of flows at the treatment plant. So everybody's allocated a certain amount of flow. All the SSR parties, we're an SSR party, it's a sanitary sewer recipient party, just like Mount Pleasant is, just like Caledonia, just like Sturtevant, North Bay, Wind Point, what have you. They're all SSR parties, and the SSP is the sanitary sewer provider. That's the Racine wastewater utility. So we're all allocated flows that we can deliver to the plant. When we exceed those flows, usually as a result of large rain events, they document what our exceedance is, and they say, what are you going to do to get these in compliance with the amount you're allocated? Because that creates a whole host of problems when you deliver, not just us, but everybody delivers too much flow to the treatment plant. Treatment plant, like anything else, has capacity to treat sewage. When it's over capacity, that can create problems. They may have to bypass. Sewage doesn't get treated properly, it's bypassed directly in the lake, things of those nature, things like that. So we're required to get those levels to an acceptable amount that is in the agreement that we're allocated. So essentially, what we did in phase 1 is we identified a couple of different study areas that we want to make changes to and be able to quantify when we make these changes, how much reduction in II or inflow infiltration we are having on our collection system. So essentially, we're looking at two pilot areas, one over in the North Osborne area, which is north of Ascension over there, and then one over by Echo Lane, Kinsey Avenue, in that area there. We're going through now that we've completed phase 1. We have plans prepared or are going to be out for bid shortly to do manhole sealing, lateral routing, other types of improvements over there. And we have already in the first phase did the metering or metering of these improvements before we're going to put them in place now. So now we know during certain rain events how much flow is going through those sewers without any improvements being made. Now the improvements are going to be made. Once they're done, then we have to post meter it, and then we'll be able to tell the difference in how much flow that we've reduced due to these things that we're putting in place to reduce II. So once we get that metering done, after the improvements are done, we'll know for every lateral that we routed, we're going to get exact X amount of II reduction. For every manhole that we seal, we're going to. So then we'll have a basis and an understanding of how we can apply this citywide. So every time we do a manhole, when we seal it up, or a lateral, we grout it, we know we're going to reduce the II by X amount of X gallons per minute. We need to start accumulating these improvements everywhere throughout the city to achieve the amount of flow reduction that the wastewater utility needs to see at the plant. So this is kind of completing our pilot study so we can figure that out and then apply it citywide. So we're using, if you will, a whole, almost like a bunch of tools in our toolbox to try to achieve this. Another one that we're going to be doing is going to be putting forth a sump pump program where property owners can put sump pumps in the city of Racine will help pay for that installation. Again, these are ways to keep that these basements flood from these extreme storms. It keeps that extra flow from hitting the treatment plant. The sump pumps get rid of that flow in the basement, they discharge it on the surface and it goes to a storm sewer instead of, filling up in someone's basement and then being released in the sanitary sewer system. So we're also doing the sump pump program. We're going to put that in place and get that hopefully launched by the second half of this year as well. So these are all those efforts to start quantifying what each of these improvements will get us on the II reduction. Once we know that, we're going to know how many units of each we're going to have to do. We're going to, do we need to put in 2,000 sump pumps? Do we need to grout, 5,000 laterals? Do we need to seal, 2,000 manholes? And we'll know what that number is to reach that II reduction number to satisfy the water or the wastewater commission. If we don't do those things, they can put moratoriums on sewer extensions, new development, and things like that. And that would severely, obviously, inhibit the city from being able to grow their tax base and encourage new development. So this is part of that work that we're going to be doing. This was budgeted for in the 2023 budget. It was under sanitary sewers and CIP. So this is the effort that we're taking forward. You'll be seeing some bids in another month or so for these actual improvements, and then we'll be post-metering these improvements once they're installed. So these are things that we're taking. The Wastewater Commission has approved our plan in concept. Now we have to prove that what we're doing is going to work. So we have to come back in October and give the wastewater commissioners an update and show them the results of what we've been doing. So this is how we're going to get there and stay in good standing and keep us out of moratoriums.
Alderman.
I have a couple questions.
And it's being funded, just so you know, a lot of that quarterly surcharge that's collected by the wastewater utility. There's a quarterly surcharge on your wastewater bill, and that is specifically to be used for II reduction and help pay for large improvements for that. So
I have a couple questions.
Yeah.
Even though we went over, we did not have an overflow at the sewage plant, did we?
There, insofar as the operation of the plant, I don't want to speak out of turn for Nate Tillis and they do have capacity to hold flow back. They got two huge equalization bases down there. If you've ever seen them, I think one's like a 5 million gallon EQ basin, and the other one I think is, 2.5 or 3 million. So they can hold that flow in those EQ basins and until they can process it and get it through the treatment plant. When they can't take that, a lot of this excess flow, what happens, either goes and gets bypassed directly into the river or the lake. They have safety sites. So, that what that's doing is relieving the sewers of all the excess flow. Hopefully they'll keep it out of people's basements, but in some of these extreme events, none even bypassing, you still wind up getting, rain in people's in their basements, and we get basement backup. So that's why we're trying to tighten the system up and keep stormwater in the storm sewer system and keep it from infiltrating and getting in the sanitary sewer system. But the wastewater utility only has so much plant capacity. They have it on a normal day like today, it's just fine. But when there are heavy rain events, they have a lot of problems treating that excess infiltration. And every one of the SSR parties are being held to account. Mount Pleasant's making big improvements. Caledonia's making improvements. We have to make them as well in the city of Racine. I mean, we're no different than any of those. So this is what we're tasked with doing. And this will be the foundation for how much work then we're going to have to do annually to lower that number. The Wastewater Commission realizes we can't fix this problem in one calendar or fiscal year. It's gonna be a multi-year approach. We can't bankrupt the city to solve this problem. So they want to see our progress in October and say, hey, we're gonna do X amount of capital every year to achieve this. So, and that's how we're gonna move forward.
And then my second question is, who is eligible for the sub pumps? Not everybody needs sub pumps, do they? Not in the city of Racine.
True, so that's part of this proposal that you're approving. That is going to get into the details of the sump pump program, where these should be installed, the legislation that'll have to be passed to support this. The funding mechanism, how people will get reimbursed for this program. So we're gonna identify, obviously, basins where we have higher II than we have in others. Some basins, the sewers are newer or have been repaired or replaced. So we're gonna target certain areas that will be more beneficial, keeping II out of the system. We've got a lot of potential customers out there from that September storm that we had. I think we serviced over 500 properties, Ron, picking up water damage, material that was in people's basements, whether it was furniture or you name it. We picked all that stuff up. You know, we have that data on the refuse collection side. The wastewater utility also has data they have logged on where people are experiencing other issues with backups. And so those will be the targeted areas we'll start with, where there are known problems, you know, because there's going to be funding limits on what we can spend annually. So we're going to try to prioritize those and get the problem areas solved first. And, you know, and if we exhaust those funds, that's all the sump pumps we'll put in until there's more money allocated in the next fiscal year. Then the next batch will come through. But we're going to be very judicious and trying to figure out, you know, where the sump pumps really need to go first. And again, we will do that metering, and so we'll know what the sump pumps are cutting off the II there too. So, you know, we're going to know about how many sump pumps we need to install as well, you know, to bring that large number down. I mean, we're talking, you know, millions of gallons a day of II reduction. We were talking 20, 30 million gallons that we have to shave during these peak events. It's a lot. So we'll know how many sump pumps we need to put in to achieve that, how many manholes we need to seal up to achieve that, how many laterals we'll need to grow out to achieve that. And it'll all be in the aggregate over time will get us below that threshold amount during these wet weather events.
Thank you.
Any other questions from committee members? Did you have something? Seeing no further questions, a motion is in order.
I'll make a motion.
All the correct.
Make a motion on that.
Okay, motion by Alder Perez, second by Alder Patrick, to approve item 0250-23. Seeing no further questions, discussions, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the motion passes. Final item is 052-23. Communication sponsored by the chair on behalf of the Commission of Public Works, submitting amendment number 3 to Fourth Infrastructure and Environmental LLC professional services agreement in the not to exceed amount of $101,700 for additional environmental services, supplementing the development of transfer station plans, specification, and estimates. Staff recommendation that amendment number 3 to the Fourth Infrastructure Environmental LLC professional services agreement for additional environmental services, supplementing development of transfer station plans, specifications, and estimates be approved, and that the mayor and city clerk be directed to sign the amendment. Fiscal note, funds to defray the cost of the amendment are available in Ort Object 57110, transfer station waste drop off. Mr. Pritzloff.
Thank you, Madam Chair. March 15th of 2022, the Common Council approved the original FOTH professional services agreement. If you recall, FOTH is our overall project manager for transportation design project. And we'll continue those services through construction. That particular professional services agreement had 6 tasks in it. This amendment amends 2 of those tasks. There's task number 3, which is environmental remediation, and task number 6, which is construction administration. And task 3, I'll just go through this real quick. Their original professional services agreement included minimal cost for environmental remediation. Project site unknown at that time, and anticipated costs were unknown. So we had a small amount of money in there. But the selected site ended up being heavily impacted with environmental related issues. In this case, it's, our site is backing up to Kestrel Hawk landfill. So we've got vinyl chloride contamination in the area. So in this case, we have to work in conjunction with Republic Services, who owns Kestrel Hawk, as well as Wisconsin DNR, to modify the existing infrastructure that's out there, which there's existing monitor wells, well pumps that needs to be monitored for, I believe, the better part of 40 years. But we need to modify that, and we need to get agreement from WDNR and Republic Services, even though we still own that land. So this particular task encompasses those environmental issues that we need to deal with. So that's task 3. Task 6, construction administration. Based on discussions we've had with both, we're looking to add some additional services, including on-site construction observation, once per week, weekly coordination, construction projects meetings, schedule tracking, submittal review, which is a big one. There's going to be a lot of submittals, and there's going to be a lot of time and effort have to be expended on reviewing those submittals, whether it be steel, structural, concrete mixed designs, all those types of things. And request for information responses. So questions that the general questions the contractor may come up with, called RFI, or request for information. They'll assist us in replying to those. And finally, some budget tracking assistance with project closeout completion. In this particular task, we're the amended amount is $65,600 on top of what we thought would be around $25,000 additional before we had some additional discussions. So in total, or in aggregate, asking for only $1,000 to that the full professional services. Glad to take any questions.
Any questions from committee members? Alder Perez.
So, the $100,000 based on this does that pretty much what you figured it would be with the changes? Or is that high, what they're asking?
No, I don't think it's high at all. I mean, especially the environmental side is the site's heavily contaminated. There's extra work that's involved with that. I don't see any problem with the amount that they've seen. It's there's going to be a lot of time and effort, and unfortunately dealing with a lot of regulatory issues which can become cumbersome at best, and then dealing with Republic Services and their existing infrastructure on that site. It's just the nature of the site that's really it's got us really, so 36,100, for a total in that task of 43,600, I think is very reasonable. And as far as construction administration goes, given the discussions we've had, I think this is, if you're on top of 25,000 with 65,600, you're at about 91,000. That's pretty darn reasonable given what we're asking them to do.
Does that answer your question, Alder Perez?
Yes, ma'am.
Alder Bachrach, any questions? Seeing none, a motion is in order.
Move to approve.
Second. Motion by Alder Perez, second by Alder Packard to approve item 0252-23. Seeing no further questions, comments, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. And the chair will vote aye. Opposed? Seeing none. Thank you, everyone. That concludes our agenda. We are adjourned.
Hey, John, the